Welcome to Omega Studios here in Paris, and today I'd like to talk to you about a machine that's being made by a French manufacturer, Two Notes, and they've produced a machine called the Torpedo. It's about 50 years that we've been recording guitars and basses in studios, and the usual way we do that is with a guitarist, a bass player, his instrument, his amplifier, his speaker cabinet, which then goes through a microphone, through a preamplifier, and then to the recording machine. Each one of those bits of material costs money, and you have to carry it to the studio. Well, we're going to get rid of a few of those things by passing through this particular machine, because what this does is it basically means you don't need a cabinet anymore, you don't need a microphone anymore, and you don't need a preamp. This machine simulates various cabinets, various microphones, and gives you a digital output where you can record directly into a tape recorder or into a digital recording format. It's your choice. It's been a while that there's been these boxes called power soaks, or which actually replace speaker cabinets. That's something which absorbs the power of a guitar amplifier and replaces a speaker cabinet. Well, that's been around for a number of years, but the thing that we've not been able to do is to record what comes out of that in a controlled manner into a digital format. What guitarists are very fond of is their instrument, first of all, because that creates one part of their sound, and the second part of their sound is the amplifier that they use. Different marks and different models of amplifiers become very fashionable as time goes by, but usually a guitarist has his particular sound which relates not only to his fingers and the guitar he's playing, but also to the amplifier that he uses. So what we're interested in when we record a guitarist is preserving that sound and getting it onto tape. Well, the way records are being made these days has changed a great deal. We don't always have the facility of a big studio such as one we're in at the moment. Quite often we have to make records in more tighter spaces, often at home, small recording studios, basement studios, home recording facilities if you want, where we can't always make a lot of noise. So what we need is a way of recording the sound of the guitarist, the sound that he uses and that he's used to playing with, directly into a digital format, or an old-fashioned tape machine if you want, but we want a way of doing that without disturbing the neighbors. That's one enormous benefit of this particular machine, is that you can plug your huge amplifier, which gives 150 watts of enormous sound normally to a big pile of speakers, but we can now record that without making any noise at all and put it straight into the machine. There's not just the home recording situation, there's also professional studios involved in recording guitars and guitarists and their speakers. The benefit of a machine like this is that basically you have simulation of 16 different speaker cabinets. Can you imagine how much space that would take and how much that would cost to have 16 different speaker cabinets? It's not just the amplifier that creates the sound, it's the speaker cabinet that's behind it. Also changes enormously the air which is being moved around the music in itself, the space, the depth, the weight of the sound. So in this box we have 16 different simulations of different speaker cabinets, all sizes, all configurations, and just simply by turning a button you can change from one speaker cabinet to another. Not only that, there's also numerous different options of microphones. Every microphone has its own color and its own particular grain, as you could say, or timbre in the way it captures the sound. There's not only that, there's also the position of the microphone in relation to the speaker, which will change. Professional recording engineers play constantly with the position of the microphone, the distance of the microphone from the speaker. Guitarists themselves like to use different cabinets for different things. We won't use the same cabinet for recording in a studio as we might do for playing at an outdoor festival, for example. Guitarist who's found a particular sound for a solo that he really wants to exploit, wants to find that same sound on stage as he's got in the studio. The benefit of this particular machine is that you can stock all the parameters and you can then take the sound that you've worked on in the studio, not only with the cabinet but also with the microphone and the position of the microphone, and take that same configuration with you onto any stage or into another studio anywhere in the world. So that's an enormous advantage.
L'avantage du Torpedo, c'est donc que je peux bosser à la maison en utilisant ma tête à lampe dans sa configuration habituelle. Je ne change absolument pas mes habitudes. Et donc je peux travailler silencieusement en utilisant la sortie de puissance de mon ampli qui rentre dans le Torpedo et qui me permet au casque d'avoir exactement le grain et le son que je souhaite retrouver sur scène.
The way that Two Note have managed to get these sounds into this box, or this way of treating sound, is through a technology called convolution that's been used for a number of years by a number of manufacturers to simulate space and particularly reverb programs. What they've done, particularly with this machine, to please guitarists and bass players, is they've managed to analyze speaker distortion itself, and that's the facility that this machine has, which is quite unique and gives the guitarist the facility to simulate a speaker cabinet being overloaded. I'd like to talk about the remote side of this machine, because what people at Two Notes have done is they've developed a program which controls all the parameters inside the machine, the things that I was speaking about earlier, such as the choice of speaker cabinet, the microphone position, etc., through a remote control program. Let's just have a look at the way we can move the microphone around in front of the speaker cabinet. It's very simple. We just click here and we can move the microphone anywhere we want in the studio. Look at the fun we can have. That saves an awful amount of time and gives us an enormous number of options in terms of the sound. Great facility. It works by USB or by Ethernet and controls all the parameters. It works in both directions. In other words, if you change something on the facade of the instrument of the box, it will change in the program, and vice versa. The great advantage is that you can preload presets from one to the other. You can download presets from the internet. There's different presets being constantly worked on by Two Notes, which are going to be available every month. You'll get a new speaker cabinet simulation which you can download into the machine, and you'll be able to charge your favorite sounds in the order that you want. The other enormous benefit with this preset function, this is the little window for the presets here, which obviously cascades 1 through till 99, is that you can switch through those presets with a MIDI controller. For a number of years I've been recording guitars and basses in different ways, but what I like to do is have the option when I get to the mix stage of changing the sound later. Quite often I take a direct sound from the guitar, all the sound of the amplifier, different microphones placed around the room, and then I choose the eventual sound that I want in relation to the mix and the dynamic that I'm looking for. One of the advantages, once again, with this machine is that we can take a dry signal from the amplifier and rework it after. What I used to do in the old days was pump the signal off tape out into an amplifier in the studio, change the settings on the amplifier and the microphone, and then bring it back in again. This gives all kinds of options for very wide stereo effects or making a small sound much larger. We can now do this all inside this little box without it, even having to leave our chair. We like that. One of the things I personally like doing when I make a record is to get people to play together in the same room at the same time. The problem is that there's not many studios in the world where you can really do that, with each musician making his particular noise without it spilling onto the noise of the other musician next door. It's always been a big dilemma for people in the recording industry that we need spaces where people can see each other as they play, because that's very important. They can hear each other, but the sound is discrete, which gives the facility for the producer or the engineer to balance the things as he wishes. So obviously this box resolves that problem, because everyone can be in the same room, making noise, but it's not making noise. In other words, they can hear the sound of their typical amplifier through a cabinet of their choice, through a microphone of their choice, through the headphones, and with a balance from the recording console itself, they can play together in the same room and in the same space. So we're no longer obliged to go into large studios with separate cabins of separation in order for people to play together. I think that's a really good facility and very useful for making good sounding records. Okay, well that was a quick trip around the Torpedo. As you can see, it can do a lot of different things. It's an interesting piece of material and it's going to be very useful for both guitar players and bass players in a studio context and on stage. I hope you enjoy using it. I hope you've enjoyed discovering it.